Hello again, my friends. We had funny morning today. I had to change my mic in a minute before our meeting with Dr. Nicole Libin. I'm introducing you this wonderful person. I won't talk about her. She will tell much better about her story and her scientific research. Okay, thank you for coming, Nicole. Please.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you. I guess I can talk a little bit about myself. I live in Calgary in Canada. And I am just finishing up. I'm a university professor, part-time university professor. So I'm just finishing up my semester. That's one, I have a PhD in religious studies, which is one of my, I guess, the hats that I wear. And the other one, which is more germane to this conversation, is that I teach about mindfulness. I teach mindfulness, I facilitate mindfulness, certified mindfulness educator, and I've written a number of books on the topic.
You're so young to have so many hats. You're very
young. I just wear a lot of sunscreen. I'm not that young. I just wear a lot of sunscreen. That's all. And I'm delighted to be here because I love talking about this. I love sort of breaking down some of the myths about meditation and the myths about mindfulness and happiness and how we can make things feel a little bit more doable, because sometimes they feel like this thing that I should do or I'm supposed to do, but I don't want to do, or I don't know how to do it.
You can't imagine how much you now you're in sync with what I'm thinking, because how many thoughts was running over my head when I discovered this morning that my mic, reliable old mic, doesn't work.
Yeah.
That many. And it took a time to relax and feel normal and start thinking, what are the solutions to the problem?
Yeah.
You're quite right. It takes a bit of concentration. It's a little bit of you have to mindfully do it, otherwise it's not gonna happen. You will be just shaking.
We naturally, our brains naturally think, right? That's what they do. They're very good at it, and that's wonderful for us because it means that we do our jobs and we pay our taxes and we have conversations and all these things that our brains allow us to do. The problem is we've trained our brains so well to be analytical. We've trained our brains so well to think through the solution, that sometimes they overthink, right? We get ourselves caught up in worries or in, catastrophizing or all these shoulds. It should be like this. It shouldn't be like this. And we come to this place where we realize that thinking isn't all that helpful. But telling someone to stop thinking is just as unhelpful, right? Like, it's like telling someone stop worrying. Well, I would stop worrying if I knew how. I'm not worrying because I like to worry. I'm worrying because it's an automatic thing. So what I teach with mindfulness is, it's this idea, I really like to see it as a way of empowering people. So you may not control what's happening, but if you can see it, right, with that concentration that you mentioned, if you can see it, then you can do something about it. Then you can change your response to it. And that really makes all the difference. So the way I say it is that there are always two things happening in every moment, right? There's what's happening and there's my relationship to what's happening. And most of the time, I don't control what's happening, right? I mean, COVID has shown us that to abundance. I don't control what's happening to the world. I don't control what's happening to my own mind. I don't control a lot of my emotions or a lot of my body. But if I can see what's happening, then instead of an automatic reaction, right, getting caught up in thinking or blaming myself or comparing myself to other people, then I can choose a kinder response. Then I can be more gentle with myself, even when, the world is in this pandemic chaos and everything is super stressful. So for me, mindfulness it's not about getting rid of all your stressors, because that's impossible. You're never going to do that. But it's about choosing a kinder response. So I can still feel like crap, or still my microphone breaks, or the world is still in chaos. but I can be kinder to myself with all of that. And that it's honestly, it's just a practice. It's like learning how to ride your bike, learning how to play a sport. It's a way of training your mind so you can be a little bit more kind, a little bit more gentle.
I loved your comparison of our automatic response in your book, Sticky Brains. When you compare us to our, people in the caves, because a lot of dangers was there. Tigers, different wild animals, whoever. And our brain still wired that way. I love this. True.
Totally. So Sticky Brains was my attempt. It's my kids' book. And it was my attempt to take very big ideas like negativity bias and neuroplasticity and boil them down for kids. And so when I first learned about the negativity bias, which is the idea that, or it's the fact that our brains see the negative more than the positive. We remember the negative more than the positive. We search it out. We hold on to it. And it's actually built into our brain. So that's where the cave people thing comes in, because our ancestors had to scan the environments all the time for threats, right? To make sure that they were safe. And if they were safe, but a little bit on edge, then they would be okay. But if they relaxed their guard, then they might, it compromises their safety. So negativity bias is built into all of us. So if you find yourself dwelling on the negative more than the positive, it's not you. It's not your fault. It's not like, why am I doing this? Is there something wrong with me? It's actually everyone does it. So there's something really freeing in that. Like, oh, because the first time I heard that, I thought, oh, thank goodness, because I thought it was just me. There was some default in my brain. It's actually not. It's a feature, not a bug. It's designed to keep us safe. And then the neuroplasticity piece is the really important piece when it comes to questions of well-being, because it's this sense that we can train our brains. Our brains get good at what they practice. So we naturally practice negativity. We naturally practice overthinking. We naturally practice comparing ourselves to others, all of these things. So if I practice being nice to myself, right? If I practice being kind, if I practice stopping and taking a breath, even just practicing enjoying a sip of coffee in the morning, then my brain actually gets better at that. And I build neural pathways that mean I'll do that more and more and more. It's just like building a muscle in the gym, right? The more I lift a particular weight, the first time it's really heavy, the more I do it, the easier it gets. Same thing with this. So we spend a lot of our...
You're getting to enjoy that. You're getting to enjoy this.
It becomes a habit.
Yes.
Right? Instead of the automatic pilot of calling myself an idiot, which most of us do a lot of the time. Like if you think about that, how often do you automatically call yourself an idiot or say, I'm so stupid, or I'm such an idiot, why did I do that? We do it automatically, and our brains got really, really good at that. So this isn't saying everything is, unicorns and rainbows and it's all going to be perfect. But it is saying if I practice focusing on the pleasant, or if I practice telling myself I'm a good person, or I practice telling myself it'll be okay, my brain actually gets better at that. So when it comes to questions of happiness, for me, it's not about reaching some level of happiness. It's about very small little things that we can do every day, like enjoying a sip of coffee, like stopping and taking a breath, like feeling the sun on your face, like telling myself, I forgive myself, I made a mistake, it's okay. Even like, cozying up with a blanket, all of these little things, the more attention I pay to them, the more kindness I give myself and to other people, the less judgment I give myself and other people, the better my brain actually gets at that. So a lot of this question of happiness is kind of just like, how can I get out of my own way?
Yeah, but it's so simple. It's so simple, actually.
It's so simple. It doesn't mean it's easy, right? Like it's deceptively simple, but we're so good at everything else and we get so caught up in all the other things. So the idea is this is something, it's actually doable. So especially for, everyone's working, everyone's busy, stressed, people have families, kids, parents, like no one needs another thing to do. So this isn't sit down and meditate for half an hour. It's just take and really enjoy, linger on that first sip of coffee. Take that time to have a sip of water, or to feel the water, like when you're in the shower, to really feel the water on your body. And these little moments throughout the day actually really do add up. And the little things will end up making a bigger deal than, some huge commitment that most of us probably can't sustain.
I've got a question. Sorry,
Yeah.
it might be stupid. I can't imagine. But maybe some other people have the same question as well. I can't imagine what sort of experiments you may do in your research. Do you do some experiments?
It's interesting because most of my experiments, I'd say, are on myself. I stopped doing, as an academic, I chose to move away from a life of academia. So I stopped doing formal research a number of years ago. So while I've written the books I've written, I certainly do the research on the books, but most of the research is qualitative. It's seeing how I respond to things, or when I teach, talking to my students and seeing, what is it like to be stressed? How do we get in the way? I really tend to focus on this, how do we get in our own way? So for example, I was talking to, I run a meditation group, and something of a tongue-in-cheek question, but instead of focusing on how do we feel better or how do we make ourselves happier, I asked, how can you make yourself suffer more? And that question is very easy, right? I mean, even who's ever watching, you can think about that, right? Not situationally, right? Like I could, give away my house or something like that. I could stop eating. That would make me suffer more. But just with my brain, how can I make myself suffer more?
Beating myself
well,
up.
I can
beat
myself up. I can tell myself I'm not good enough. I can do all the things I'm already doing, just more of them.
Yeah.
So in essence, my research has been that it's looking at what people say when you start to give them the sense of, well, this is how we're already making ourselves suffer. So how can we pull that back? If I can be aware of my habits, then I can change them, but you can't change what you can't see. So a lot of it is, for myself, it's with my family or with my students, it's these questions of, well, what are you doing now that you don't want to be doing, right? We have all these, like the calling myself an idiot. Do I want to be doing that? Well, if I can see that I'm doing it and I know I don't want to be doing it, then maybe I can keep practicing to change it. So the research, I would say, is largely informal. When I write in the books, it's my own experiences. So I wrote a book on mindful parenting. It's really like, this was what happened when we were at the store and my kid had a meltdown, and I tried not to, melt down with her, that sort of thing.
Wow. Very interesting. And very simple.
I think it can be very simple. I think meditation and mindfulness get overcomplicated. Mm. I think that they sort of need this, like a PR makeover, like a publicist needs to go in and kind of rework what mindfulness looks like. Yes, sitting in meditation for a long period of time can make a difference in your life, but for most people, it's just not possible. So the question is, well, what can I do? Little things like when you wake up in the morning, is the first thing that you're doing reaching for your phone and checking email or checking, social media? Well, you can notice that usually for most of us, that does not make us actually feel good. That actually just adds to stress. And we've done it before we've even turned on the light or opened our eyes. So again, it's this question of, well, am I doing it? Do I want to be doing it? If I don't want to be doing it, then what else can I do? So maybe it's, I know I have to check my email. I'm just going to take a moment and just really enjoy lying in bed for 5 seconds before I pick up the phone. So I think I like to make it as barrier free as possible, because I mean, I'm lazy, you know, I won't do stuff if it's too hard. So, but these little moments, and they give us our lives back, because most of our lives aren't big, monumentous occasions. Most of our lives are every day, doing the dishes, making dinner, you know, dealing with your partner, dealing with friends or family, just staring at the computer screen.
Sure. Sure.
And so if we can find some connection to those moments, and it sounds so cheesy, but if I can just stop and take a breath before I send an email. Even one practice I really like is when when I sign an email, when I say take care or best wishes, whatever I say, I try to actually stop for just a micro moment and actually believe it, like actually send nice wishes to this person. And it's a second, but it's that pause that sort of breaks the momentum of the day, that gives me a bit of a break. It sort of connects me back to, oh yeah, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, or I don't feel as alone, or I feel as isolated.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
If you get in situations of you're upset, like I today, really stressed,
Yeah.
it's 10 minutes before interview. What can you do? So, and of course, mind starting to shake and what shall I do? What shall I do? What shall I do?
Yeah.
What is your first thing you do? I guess everyone has situation like this. Life is full of
Great
that.
question. First thing is just to be very clear, and I'm glad you asked the question, because I get stressed all the time. And so I want to just this is debunking this myth that someone who practices mindfulness, or someone who does meditation, or someone who teaches about it has it all figured out, because no one has it all figured out, right? So it's a tool, a strategy that's helpful, but I'm human. I still lose it all the time. I still get mad. I still do, you know, ridiculous things. So one piece underlying it, I would just say, is that sense of like, humans make mistakes. And so I can know that it's okay to make mistakes, right? And I don't remember that in the moment ever, but there's a sense of if I expect that everything, no, let me put it a different way. I like to tell, especially I teach university. You know, my students are in they're writing final papers and they're doing final exams. They're terribly stressed. And I spend a lot of time telling them that it's okay. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be stressed. So in those moments when we make those mistakes, like the thing breaks 10 minutes before and I'm freaking out, a good reminder is just that it is okay. It's okay to lose it. It's okay to get mad. It's okay that stuff happens. But the technique that I would suggest, our minds take us away, our bodies bring us back. So as you described, right, your thing broke and you're freaking out and your mind is going, 100 miles a minute. Your body is in the present moment. So you can do it right now, if you can just put your feet on the floor and just feel your feet on the floor. Feel your heels. There's parts you will be able to feel and parts you can't, but you can feel your heels. You can play a game that I like to do, which is how many toes can you feel? And most people can't feel all of them. But if I put my attention there on the feeling of my feet on the ground, I'm literally grounding myself. I'm feeling the ground. But I've taken my attention out of my head and out of the catastrophizing in that, hamster wheel, and into something that is solid and that is present and that is neutral. So using your breath, using breathing is really good. So that's why people say, when you're freaking out, take a deep breath. breath can sometimes be hard because either we forget to do it,
Yes.
or if you're prone to anxiety, breath can actually be anxiety inducing. So I really like feet because most of us have a relatively neutral relationship to our feet. So when I'm losing it, I try to stop, feel my feet on the floor, see how many toes I can feel, see if I can feel my heels, my, various parts of my feet on the floor. And it doesn't make the problem go away, but it'll bring me back into the present moment. It'll calm my system just a little bit so I can proceed. One other trick that's really, really lovely to do is anytime that you can take a deep breath, especially a deep exhalation, it's actually a signal to your parasympathetic nervous response. We have the fight, flight, freeze mode, and then we have the rest and digest mode. So any deep exhale is a signal to that chill out mode, that you're actually safe, you're okay. Because when I'm being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, I'm not going to be able to take any deep breaths. So that's another trick. So one thing you can do is sort of stop, feel your feet on the floor, try to take a deep breath in, and then really just like a longer exhalation out. And you can actually play, this is just it's like a tidbit, trivia, but if you feel your pulse when you breathe in, your pulse will be faster when you breathe in and slower when you breathe out. And it's actually like you've actually calming your system when you breathe out. So the more you can focus on the exhalation, it's a good thing to do before sleep. If you can't sleep, like try and make those exhalations really, really long. All of that brings your attention back into your body, back into the present moment. And then your mind will wander, like your mind will take it away again. Like, okay, but I can come back here. But then your mind wanders off again, but then I can come back here. So those are a couple things you can play with.
Your magic is working. You're already almost calmed me down because all this, energy worries. Now I felt that because there was no time to feel it when I was rushing to the shop to buy something. There was no rush to feel it, to be with it. And now it's coming. Okay. Oh, we made it.
And I would say that's a really important piece of it, is just letting your feelings be felt. So there's something really lovely about just letting yourself be sad when you're sad. We've all had most of us have had the experience of a good cry. And a good cry, it's good because you just let yourself, right? You let it go. You let yourself have that release. You let those emotions be felt. And when they're felt, then they're done. Like you've allowed them to do what they need to do. And so there's some freedom in the, we think like I should be happy, or I should be calm, or I shouldn't be this way. But if I am this way, right, this is what's happening. I can't maybe change what's happening, but I can change my relationship to it. So I can be kind to myself while I'm stressed, right? Kind to myself while I'm freaking out, or while, when nervousness comes up, for example, rather than I shouldn't be nervous or I shouldn't feel this way. That just generally just makes us feel worse.
Oh, thank you. That was marvelous. I have a question again.
Yeah.
I remember what I wanted to ask you when I was reading about you. Tell me how you choose this, what you do. How? Did you want it from the childhood, or did you get to it somehow?
No, I think it's safe to say I fell into this. I fell into every career part of my, every path that I've taken. I moved into, I went to grad school and I did my PhD and I started teaching, and I had always sort of had an interest in mindfulness and meditation. And I just started doing it with my students because they're just so stressed. And it has always astounded me that we spend so much time, we teach students math and we teach them geography, and I don't know if we do a good job of teaching them grammar, but we don't teach them how to be with their own thoughts, right? We teach all these external skills, but we teach physical education, but we don't teach mental education. And so I saw that my students were coming into the class and there was this sense of like, okay, focus, right? But no one teaches us how to focus. And they were so stressed from the previous class or from parking or from just getting to the class that I noticed that if we just took a moment and I did two things that I continue to do. One of them is I just ask them how they are. Like I genuinely ask my student, how are you doing? And they get to kind of check in and realize how they're doing, and it's okay to be human. And then the other thing is just stop and take a few deep breaths. We do a mindful minute or a few minutes, and I just started doing that, and I found it made it such a difference that I got into the research, and I got trained and started writing about it. And I guess, yeah, it nothing was planned. It just sort of happened, as most things do. I think. I don't think my impression is that very few of us, pick one career and end up sticking with it, and that's exactly what we do. It just never, for most of us, it doesn't work out that way.
Well, we changed 3 times.
Yeah.
3 times.
Yeah, most of us too. I think my husband's the only one. He's a computer programmer, and he always has been a computer programmer, and that's just what he does. But almost everyone else, we change. Yeah, lot of stuff comes up that we don't expect. And I mean, again, COVID has kind of given us that. Like we do not control what's happening. So if we have some tools to be able to respond to it, then we can maybe be kinder to ourselves when everything goes crazy.
Something you mentioned before, I just thinking about this, it's still stuck in my mind. I want to ask you about this. You are quite right. We believe somehow, everyone else believe that people who meditate, they sort of sort themselves out. They don't have the issues at all because they meditate every day. So they communicate with higher self, or whatever you want to call it, higher powers. So they know how to turn these higher powers right like this, and they're fine. And this is, I think, it's not only me thinking this way. I think quite a few of us. This is like a belief.
I think, I mean, some people, I'm currently reading a book that goes into some of the research that has been done on, long-term meditators, people who have spent decades doing this, or people who have gone on very long, month-long retreats. And I think that, the research is showing that meditation can change your brain, and even just small bits of meditation can change your brain. So I think for people who are the monks and the nuns, or people who have spent so much time doing this, I think that their brains have changed. I think that it does make a difference, and it makes a lasting difference. And MRI research, I don't actually just think it, MRI research shows that. And we're still human. So I don't count, by no means do I count myself among, the expert meditators, or the decades long, the meditators that have spent that much time doing it. But we are all still human, and you can read about teachers who've been teaching for decades, and they still talk about struggles with, family members, in-laws, right? Raising teenagers. We're still human. So we get to find a balance. And I think for most of us who aren't going to go off on a 3-month-long meditation retreat, most of us, it's a tool that we get to add as part of how we care for ourselves. So we're still going to get mad. We're still going to get stressed. We're still going to call ourselves an idiot, every once in a while. We still get to be human, and we still get permission to be human. And maybe we have a little bit of a tool, like a toolbox, that offers us an opportunity to change how we respond to all of those stressors. So I think most meditation, I shouldn't speak on behalf of most meditation teachers, but my experience is that we're all human and we're all dealing with emotions, and emotions come unbidden to all of us, right? You don't ask to be angry, you just get angry. So then even the most, seasoned meditator is going to get angry. It's the question of how she deals with that. And that's where she maybe has some tools that most of us are still working on.
Do you mind me asking, what are you working on right now? Is this new book or is this new research? What is this you're working on right now?
To be perfectly honest, right now, I am trying to get through the end of the semester. I have nothing terribly exciting or innovative. I wish I did. That I'm working on. I'm interested though, once I do get through the semester, my interest has always been in working with the relationship between mindfulness and depression. I have depression. I was diagnosed when I was 16 years old. It's something I've lived with most of my life. And sometimes I think that we need to talk about mental health or mental illness and mindfulness in different ways that it isn't always talked about. So sometimes, for example, for depression, sometimes meditation is not the thing that I need to do. And you don't hear that a lot from meditation teachers. So it's really finding a balance. So what I hope to be working on over the summer is a lot on that. I want to put together a course or a sitting group that really focuses on how those who do have depression can still continue to practice, continue to do mindfulness, but with some extra considerations that aren't always named. But I have to get through all the marking first.
Interesting. Yes. Sorry, so we're taking your time, but we so appreciate your time.
It's my pleasure.
You already given so few tools. If you don't mind, I will pick up your tools and put it in writing and leave it to everyone who looking at us. They will have your tools in writing, so like tools, like everyday tools. That's what I want to give.
Certainly. And I've got, in addition, if you go to I've taken a bit of a break from social media, but I do have a website where I post, I put some guided meditations as well as written teachings. It's followyourbreath.com. So if I write about any tools, I will put them there. And I'm also on Instagram on Follow Your Breath. Follow Your Breath, and I try to do regular meditations, really just short, like if some of them are 5 minutes, some of them are 20 minutes, but just some reminders and some tools like those, like feel your feet, that sort of thing, to make them really accessible. And all the stuff on the website is free, just readily available, just trying to be a resource and to help people out. So yes, feel free to write anything down, and some of it's already written down, so you don't have to, was the point of that.
Excellent. What would you like, we're about to finish our time today, so what would you like to leave with our listeners today?
I guess I would leave with just a reminder that, and I've said it in this time, but just a reminder that being human is hard. And when we're suffering is very isolating. Suffering tends to lie to us. It tells us you're alone and there's something wrong with you for feeling this way. And all of that tends to just, it's very, very isolating. And so the more, even if it feels really weird or really cheesy or really even fake, the more I can just try to take moments of kindness for myself, the more, you can just take yourself out. Like, I don't feel like doing anything today. I'm just going to take myself out for a walk, or I'm just going to talk to a friend. Those little moments really do make a difference. But the key piece of it, at least for me, is that sense of kindness and self-compassion. And it might feel weird at first, but the more you do it, the better your brain gets at that.
Nicole, do you mind to finish our meeting with a 3 minutes meditation or whatever you're doing with your students? What sort of like
Oh, no, not at
3 minutes
all.
meditation for all of us? I will
For
follow
sure,
you.
of course.
Thank you.
So I would suggest to find a posture that feels upright and dignified. So maybe sitting a little bit straighter than you might normally sit. Just tuck your chin just a little bit. And your eyes can be closed, or you can take a soft gaze, whatever feels better for you. And you might start just by taking a deep breath. And just allowing the weight of the day and also the weight of your shoulders to just drop a little bit. And then letting the breath return to whatever feels normal or natural. You might just take a moment to check in, just notice, what does it feel like to be you right now? What does it feel like to have this body? And what is the mind like right now? What emotions are present? And the idea of the practice is that you don't have to change any of that. You don't need to make anything happen. You don't need to stop anything from happening. It's a chance to see what's alive and to be friendly and kind through all of it. So you might just feel what it's like to breathe in, feel what it's like to breathe out. And really just allowing the attention to focus in on the feeling of breathing. And whenever the mind wanders, which of course it will, just gently guiding it back to the feeling of the breath. Feeling yourself breathe in, feeling yourself breathe out. No need to change the breath. No need to get rid of the thoughts. And bringing in a sense of caring for all of it. Caring for yourself as you breathe in. Caring for yourself as you breathe out. And the mind wanders off, and we just gently bring it back. Seeing what's happening, feeling the breathing, and choosing to be kind to all of it. And then perhaps just taking one more deep breath. And even sighing, just letting go of anything that doesn't serve you right now.
This is beautiful. This is amazing.
So just a little taste.
Lovely. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. This was lovely. It was a pleasure, and I wish all the best to you, to everyone that's watching. And thank you. Thanks for letting me talk.
See you again. Bye for
Thank
now.
you.
Find the button.